Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Hey guys, Carmine Bianco, WagerTalk.com with this week's edition of Stoppage Time. We have some midweek EPL games that are going on, as well as the MLS Cup playoffs going on. We're going to cover one of those games as well, too, along with 3 EPL games. With me to go over these games, Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com, Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com, and of course, Pavlos Laguretos of SportsMemo. Let's bring him in. Pavlos, I'll kick it off with you. A little bad weather out there in Greece. What's going on?
Yeah, there is extreme weather, a lot of wind, earthquakes, floods. I mean, it's somebody opened an Egyptian sarcophagus somewhere near here, and we got the plagues of Egypt hitting Greece day after day. But we won't stop giving out, free plays. I had a best bet for last week. Both teams to score and over 2.5 goals in the Milan versus Sassuolo match, which was confirmed in the first half. Doing really well with this 10%, 7-0 so far in the season. I have a couple of plays that are under review for tomorrow that are going to be my 10% best bet, max bet. I have a best bet up for tonight. It's in a 2-pack along with 3-team parlay. I don't usually do parlays, but I really love this spots. So you can find those up at my page. And I'm super excited to talk this midweek fixtures across Europe.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it just as much as I'm looking forward to finally getting one of those 10% plays. You're 7-0, and you have not messaged me once on all of them. Probably why you're 7-0. But Nick Borrman, watching the Philadelphia Union and Nashville game, it was a lesson on how not to take penalty kicks. Nashville, four penalty kick attempts, 4 misses, 2 of them on goal, 2 of them still haven't landed in Nashville. How are things going?
Yeah, it looked like me in high school trying to take penalty kicks. Not good at all. Things are going good. I had a good, easy 5% winner on the weekend over Liverpool on Saturday. Then I tried to follow it up with another one on Sunday with Leipzig, but they didn't show up against Leverkusen, so lost that one. But I do have another one lined up for tomorrow, Wednesday, and I got a bunch of free plays loaded on my page. One today, one tomorrow, and one Thursday as well. So make sure you're over there, check that out. But things are good. Looking forward to a lot of midweek action this week. I wish it was Champions League. It's always better than just the league games. But hey, games are games.
Yeah, champions will return next week. Just keep hitting those 5s. You've been doing extremely well with them. Speaking of doing well with them, Man United +1 as a 5% play. I was glad to see you're on that. I was on the same play on Sunday. Congrats on that winner, Kev.
Yeah, it was definitely nice. Carmine actually came off a nice 12-6 long weekend overall. Had the Nuggets +7.5 in the NBA last night as well. As my only player for Monday, and it was nice to bank that 5% winner in Manchester United +1 on Sunday too. Things are going really well right now. We have 4% best bet up in NBA tonight. We've got a couple of client plays in the EPL tonight as well. And a free play up over on site too. So, looking to do some damage on these midweek European games.
All right, looking forward to it. Guys, we're going to get right into it. We've got 4 games on the card, 3 EPL games, the Premier League games, and then 1 in Major League Soccer playoffs. We're going to kick it off with Liverpool and Everton, the Merseyside Derby. Let's have a quick look at the numbers on this one. Everton +650. The draw is +425. Liverpool -175. Kevin and I will look at this one. I'm going to give you just a quick overview on where I'm looking at here. Listen, this Merseyside Derby couldn't have come at a worse time for this Everton team. Since beating Norwich back at the end of September, they've lost winless in 8. 6 of those losses. Rafa Benitez, heat's on him there. They thought he could turn the team around, and you've got a Liverpool team coming in who are 9-2-1 since that same time back at the end of September. The only loss coming to a 3-2 loss at West Ham. Listen, derbies are normally tough, and I'm going to keep this very short, but this is one where this Liverpool team is just playing at a high level right now. You've got a team that's struggling. I didn't see anything from Everton this past weekend to convince me that they've turned it around. So for me, this is straightforward. Liverpool. I'll take the handicap here. I think this is Liverpool by a couple of goals here. Oddly enough, 8 of the last 9 at Everton between these two in Premier League games have ended in draws. So keep that little nugget going there. But I'm still going to take Liverpool by a couple of goals here in this one. Kev, your thoughts?
I have to agree with you, Carmine. That little nugget you mentioned at the end there is interesting because, on the surface at least, these are two of the oldest rivals in Europe. It's a night game in Goodison as well, obviously, so you'd expect the place will be buzzing. And Everton have a decent record against Liverpool in the Premier League of late, unbeaten in 4 of the last 5 against them, actually won the last one outright as well. So, on the surface, getting plus 1.5 goals on them here at around minus 130 looks like a little bit of value. But, as you mentioned, while rivalry's good, while history's good, you simply have to take into account where these two teams are currently at right now. And if you're looking at current form, there's absolutely no way I could touch Everton with my money on this spot. As you mentioned, the Toffees winless run stretches to 8. There's lost 5 of 7 in the Premier League as well. They've got an absolute ton of injuries, which has really hampered their form this season. Lost to Brentford last time out, got smashed against City, allowed 5 goals against Watford a few weeks ago, and they're facing a team in Liverpool who are an absolute machine right now. Scored 5 goals against Watford, 5 goals against United, 4 against Arsenal, 4 against Southampton. I mean, Liverpool have failed to score at least 2 goals just once all season. They're absolutely blitzing the XG table this year, 2.94 XG per game on average away from home this season. So, history aside, there's very little that makes me think Everton can even stay competitive in this game. Rafa Benitez will probably like to sit back, soak up a bit of pressure here. But, no Yerry Mina, no Holgate. He simply doesn't have the players to do it, in my opinion. And as you mentioned as well, we saw poor Everton looked over the last 2 weekends against Brentford and City. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going to throw history and rivalry out the window. I think Liverpool have the ability to absolutely steamroll Everton here on Wednesday if they go for the jugular in this game. No Bobby Firmino, though, for the Reds. Huge blow there, obviously. That's a joke, by the way. But, yeah, Liverpool minus 1.25 and minus 110. That's something that's going to make my card for Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, and you look at the games last year. Everton did take 4 of 6 points from Liverpool. That was a Liverpool team, obviously, that dealt with injuries, and now the roles are reversed. You've got an Everton team now dealing with some players out of the lineup and only scoring 4 in those 8-game winless run. It has to be a warning sign for this team. So I think we're on the right side here, taking Liverpool by at least a couple goals clear, but we'll see. These derbies can always be tough ones to figure out. I think this one's kind of straightforward. Guys, before we hit to the second game, Leicester City and Southampton, it's $2 Tuesdays. And of course, $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk and Sportsmemo, where you can get a featured cappers play for only $2. Those are plays that normally go for $25 or $35 at both sites. And there's some great promos included with those $2 offers. At WagerTalk, it's Adam Trigger. He is going to have a football best bet play up today. And over at Sportsmemo, Rocky Atkinson, he's been killing it in college football, and he's got a college football best bet. So head over to WagerTalk and Sportsmemo and pick those up for only $2. All right, guys, right back to the Premier League. Southampton, Leicester City. Let's have a quick look at the numbers on this one. You've got Southampton plus 137 at home as a short plus money favorite. The draw is plus 260 here, and Leicester City is plus 187. Nick, I'm going to go to you first on this one. You're getting a quarter goal with a Leicester team that seems to be playing some much better football right now. Some early season injuries. It seems like the team is getting healthy. What's your thoughts here on this one?
So if you give me this line, match day one, beginning of the season, I think we're all in agreement we're probably going to hammer Leicester. But, for whatever reason, they are certainly not playing to that level that we expect where, they have the better lineup on paper, no doubt about it. Perhaps it's juggling the European schedule with the Europa League. That's kind of tripping them up a little bit. But, they just haven't been playing to the level that I think any of us would have expected this year. I did this right up last night. I was seeing it as a pick-em line. So clearly as the money's moving towards the Southampton side, I assume, to move that line out. But so my notes here are based on the pick-em line, which, I thought this line was pretty tight based right now on how the teams are playing. Again, on paper, I would think Leicester should win more often than not, but I'm not seeing that on the field right now. Same with the total. I think it's pretty tight here. I would have a slight lean to the under. But neither the side nor the total, the way they lay are good enough for me. So what I like to do in these type of games is move the number on both ways and parlay them together. And I like Southampton at home getting the double chance, which is plus a half a goal, and under 3.5, pairing those up. And you can get that for around -120 or -125 at DraftKings. One big angle I like to look at with, a lot of these teams is, I like to underreact to the game prior. And by that, I mean, if you look at the results of these two teams in their last game, Southampton were spanked 4-0 by Liverpool, but who cares? You guys already hit on this. Everybody gets spanked 4-0 by Liverpool. So that's not really necessarily a bad result. And Leicester took care of Watford 4-2. But again, Watford, who cares? They're probably going to be lucky to stay up this year in the Premier League. So I don't really put too much onto those type of games, and I look here for possibly the tide to turn the other way. And I think Southampton at home, they've been pretty good, especially defensively. They're only averaging 1.06 expected goals generated per game at home, but they're allowing just 0.93. They're also allowing less than 10 shots per game, which are both in the top 3 or 4 in the Premier League, which is very solid. For Leicester, they've struggled on the road. They have just 2 wins in 6 games, ugly expected goal numbers, 1 expected goal generated, 1.59 allowed. They're averaging less than 10 shots per game on the road. Their 2 wins came against Norwich and Brentford, who are, 2 promoted sides. Brentford's actually been performing decently, but I think they're overperforming a little bit. And Norwich is just god-awful. But, they actually, in both of those games, they actually ended up producing less expected goals, less chances created, but they still ended up winning those games. Just, again, proving that they're not really on the field playing the way that they should. So to me, Southampton's home defense paired with Leicester's away offense, and the fact that only 1 of the last 9 head-to-head games has finished over 3.5 goals, which I'm sure we all remember was the 9-0 Leicester beatdown a couple seasons ago. I don't think we're going to see a ton of goals here. So I like the combo play. Catch the half a goal at home with Southampton and under 3.5 goals. It's a decent price, like I said, -120, -125. That's how I'm going to play this one.
All right, that's Nick Borrman at WagerTalk.com with his take on the Southampton and Leicester City game. Pavlos, I got to agree with Nick. At least as far as games played at Southampton, you're not going to see a lot of goals. They've only scored 5 at home, the lowest amount in the Premier League, along with Wolves. And defensively, only 4 goals allowed. Only Man City with 3 and Chelsea with 4 have allowed fewer and equal at home. So with a game in hand, thoughts here on the total?
Well, this is a weird match because Southampton, they think they should have won at Norwich. Then they suffered an expected loss against Liverpool, but they're now back at home after 2 consecutive matches on the road, and they've been quite solid at home, as you mentioned, Carmine. They've only lost 1 of their 6 matches so far, 2 wins, 1 loss, 3 draws. There aren't usually a lot of goals in their home matches, and they did keep West Ham to a 0-0 draw and Manchester United to a 1-1 draw at home. While Leicester on the road, they weren't very good to start the season, but they are now unbeaten in the last 4. They had a 1-1 draw against Leeds, a 2-1 win against Brentford, a 3-4 win against Spartak Moscow in the Europa League, and a 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace. There is something changing in this Leicester side, and I think it has to do with James Maddison, because I know this because I have him in my fantasy team, and he's been terrible all season, but he's been waking up lately. He scored 1 and assisted 1 goal in their 3-1 win over Legia in the Europa League, and in the match against Watford, he scored one and assisted twice. So Madison and Lookman, both very good players. They're starting to get hot for this Leicester side, and pair that up with Vardy and possibly Daka up front. And you got a pretty good offense. While their defense, they spent a lot of money in the offseason to shape up their defense, but they had a lot of injuries in the defense. So their defense is actually quite bad this season. They have the fourth worst defense in the league with 23 conceded goals. They have been quite mediocre on the road with 2 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws. They scored 9 and conceded 11. They kept just 1 clean sheet on the road in 9 away matches in all competitions, and it was a cup match against Millwall. So their defense is kind of struggling, but I do trust their offense in this match. But Southampton, they always, they take things very slowly in their home matches. Now, Leicester, they've been unbeaten in this venue in the last 4 years. They have 3 wins and a draw, and as Nick mentioned, one of those wins was a 9-0 thrashing a couple of years back. So the way I look at this, I expect both teams to score here, but the price is not great, minus 160-ish. But what I do like is tie or Leicester and over 1.5 goals at minus 140. I mean, worst case scenario, this is a 1-1 draw, which will also confirm the both teams to score. But I do trust this Leicester side to be better offensively. Their defense, again, I don't trust so much, and Southampton are really upset about back-to-back losses on the road. So I expect them to be much more feisty in their home match. I expect both teams to score, but I like also tie or Leicester and over 1.5 goals here.
All right, Pavlos Laguretos of Sports Memo with his take on Southampton and Leicester City. All right, guys, we're going to move right on to the third and final of the Premier League games that we're going to feature on today's show. This is Man United and Arsenal. Let's look at this one. Man United minus 105 at home. The draw is plus 275, and Arsenal is also plus 275 in this one. It's a new era at Old Trafford after Ole got canned after the Watford game. Interim manager Rangnick in now. He wasn't there while he got all of his paperwork and his work orders in place, but should be there at Old Trafford for this one against Arsenal. Thus far, since the Ole era ended, Kev, it is a win at Villarreal in Champions League and a draw at Chelsea. One where it was a different United team. We both had them +1 in that game. They played a very defensive game, nicked the goal, and looked like they were going to steal 3 points at Stamford Bridge, but a 1-1 draw. I look at this one now. You have Arsenal coming in, a team that has clean sheets in 4 or 5. One bad game where they got stretched out by Liverpool and were made to pay for it, losing 4-0. But I have to think that they're coming in a team not playing in Europe, which allows them to have a full lineup and not too much rotation in their starting 11. And it just seems like they're playing some very good defensive ball right now. Like, I'm looking at the under here, Kev, just because this United team, I expect them to be pressing high under their new manager. He made that play famous. And I just see this as a tight one after that 4-0 loss against Liverpool. I think we see a tighter squad, and against a United squad that we don't know what the makeup of this team will be heading into this game. Ronaldo sat on the bench, a surprise non-starter in that Chelsea game. I'm leaning under here. The goal total is at 2.75. I got to think that that's a split line of 2.5 and 3. That this stays under that total of 3. 1-1 draw, 2-1. Or 2-0 for United, somewhere in and around there. I just think that goals won't be part of what we see in this one, Kev.
Yeah, completely agree, Carmine. I'm going to have to start going first as well, because it's like literally I come on here and I'm just going to parrot pretty much all your thoughts, because I completely agree. And same as you, I was actually a little bit surprised the line's been set as high as 2 3/4, to be honest. Arsenal have just been really poor in front of goal this season on the road. They've been shut out in 4 of their 6 road games this year. They're averaging the second fewest goals scored on the road this season as well. Obviously, no surprise there, seeing as they've been shut out in so many games. And only Norwich have a worse record overall, and their expected goals numbers paints a very similar picture, second last in the league for Arsenal. So, it's not the fact that Arsenal are getting unlucky and converting these chances. It's that they simply haven't been getting into good enough positions in front of the goal to begin with. Where Arsenal have been effective, though, is at the back. They shut out Newcastle at the weekend 2-0. Each of the last 3 wins have been accompanied by a clean sheet as well. And they've lost just once over the last 10 Premier League games. And also, I'm the same as you. I think we see a lower scoring game here on Thursday. And I like Arsenal to kind of grind out a result in this one from a side perspective. The under 2.5 goals probably appeals to me the most in this one. But I also do like the outright draw. You mentioned that 1-1 correct scoreline as well. That's going off a plus 650. I like that price. So, yeah, whatever way you want to slice it, combination of draw and unders for me, is definitely the way I see this one going on Thursday.
All right, Kevin Dolan with his thoughts on Man United and Arsenal. And, it's a reoccurring theme just before we head to the other game. And a quick promo is, and Nick mentioned it as well, too, sometimes with these teams dealing with international schedules, whether it's Champions League, whether it's Europa League or the new Europa Conference League, this year, it leaves you a little thin sometimes for these home games where you've got to rotate it. That's something that Arsenal hasn't had to do. They didn't qualify for any of these tournaments, so it allows them to pretty much fresh game in and game out. There's an advantage to that. Leicester used that a few years back to parlay into a surprise Premier League win, and it's something we see. Arsenal, I think, are sitting tied with West Ham now in 4th. I don't think anyone would have expected that from them. But here we are, and they're there. All right, guys, a quick promo, and this one is for myself. We'll have a show promo next Tuesday with Champions League for the whole crew. But I've got a BOGO going on right now. You buy a 30-day all-access package, and you will get an additional 30 days for free. That 30-day all-access package is $349, but you'll get 2 months for the price of one. It's been a very good past 30 days. And just this past week, 31, 13, and 1, 60% bankroll gain. So it's starting to heat up. Let's take advantage of this BOGO deal. All right, Nick Borrman and Pavlos are going to cover this MLS game, New England Rev and New York City FC. Let's look at the odds of this one. The Rev, who were the best team in the league last year, minus 118. The draw, plus 275. And New York City FC plus 275. Nick, I'm going to go to you first on this one. You've done absolutely phenomenal in MLS this season, especially those 5% plays. Give me your thoughts on this one.
I'm still just at a loss to how I lost the only 5% play I've had in the playoffs on Seattle, losing to 0 shots in the game. But hey, hopefully we can rebound with a winner in this game. I actually wrote a MLS playoff preview for the WagerTalk news page before the playoffs began, and it hit on both of these teams. As far as futures goes, I basically said New York City is a team to bet on, while New England was not. A lot of that was due to their price. You could get New York City 12-1. New England was only around 3-1 and just not worth a futures play. But besides the price, another reason I don't like the Revs is while they clearly got the results this season, which obviously is all that matters, what worries me is that 18 of their 22 wins were by 1 goal. And winning close games like that consistently is not something that you can expect again and again and again. It's kind of like Liverpool, 3 seasons ago now or 2 seasons ago? And then last year they fell off big time and that luck kind of turned the other way. Not saying it's going to necessarily happen right away here in the playoffs, but it's alarming to me. Their defense has not been solid. They actually allow 1.4 expected goals per game, which ranks 14th in the league. And to me, it's not a recipe for winning the MLS Cup. Meanwhile, New York City, if you look purely at the table with them, you might not be inclined to give them much thought. But if you look closer at the numbers, New York City led the MLS with a plus 0.78 expected goal differential per game. They averaged 15.2 shots per game, ranks number 2, 5.5 on goal, ranks number 1, allowed just 9.5 shots per game, ranks number 1, and 3.7 on goal, which ranks number 5. So very highly ranked in all those statistical categories. They did have a bad run of form in the summer, August through October, a long stretch there. They only had 3 wins in 15 games. but they did come alive at the end. They were unbeaten in their last 6 games to earn their place here. They looked very good against Atalanta in that first match. And then the head-to-head series this year, New England did win 2 of the 3 meetings, but with 2 of those 3 games finishing over the total, but all 3 of those games saw a ton of chances. The expected goal tally for each game was a total of 3.37, 4.4, and 5. While this is a playoff game and, obviously could play out a little differently, it's hard to ignore those numbers, and I like both the over and New York City catching a half-goal head start here in this match, and that's how I'm going to attack this one.
All right, I love it. Nick Borrman, WagerTalk.com, with his take on the New England Rev and New York City FC. The winner of that one will meet Philadelphia Union in the Eastern Conference finals. Pavlos, listen, Nick mentioned Seattle. That is your team, your favorite team. Losing to Real Salt Lake while not allowing any shots on goal the whole game. Game goes to penalty kicks. I just want to remind you before you go that a few years back, I was at a MLS Cup final in Toronto where Seattle registered no shots on goal through 90 minutes, through 30 minutes of extra time, and then 1 in penalty kicks. So it's maybe a little bit of payback. What goes around comes around. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, Karma is a very weird lady, if I must say. But yeah, these are 2 of the best offenses in the Eastern Conference in the regular season. Of course, things in the playoffs tend to be slightly different. I love that. I loved watching this New England Revolution side, especially at home. They only lost twice at home. They lost to Toronto FC, and in their last match of the regular season against Inter Miami, but they were just getting ready for the playoffs at that point. So just don't look too much into that final loss. But yeah, New York City, they were excellent at home, but on the road they struggled quite a lot. Actually, they had just 4 wins, 8 losses, and 5 draws on the road. They scored 19 of their 59 goals on the road, and they conceded 23 of their total 36 goals on the road. So 2/3 of their conceded goals came on the road. So they weren't very, very good. They won just 2 of their last 13 away matches with 7 losses and 4 draws. They kept only 2 clean sheets in 17 away matches throughout the season, and they scored in 13 of their 17 away matches. So both teams' score was 12-5 on the road for New York City. New England, even though they were very good offensively, their defense wasn't just that good at home. They kept just 4 clean sheets in 17 home matches this season. And when these 2 teams met in the regular season, they met on 3 occasions, twice in New York and 1 in this venue. New England won once and lost once in New York, and they won this home match by 2-1. What worries me just a little bit is that New England's top scorer Buxa is out. I think he's out in this match. But they still have Gustavo Bu, who also had a very productive season. And I'm not aware of any other important absences in this New England side, so I expect their offense to be just as good. So the way I look at this is taking both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -125. New England, they have been quite solid as hosts against New England over the years. They have 5 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws. They lost just 1 of their last 7 here. So yeah, I think there's gonna be goals here. Maybe not a very high-scoring match like a 3-2 or a 4-2 or something, but maybe a 2-1 or maybe a 1-2. So I'm not really sure how New England will operate without their leading scorer. But again, they do have a lot of great units in that squad. So I expect goals from both sides and over 2.5 goals at -125 here.
All right.
Hey Carm, can I mention one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to mention one more thing that I forgot to say was the other concern I had a little bit with New England was they last played on November 7th, so this is what 23, 22, whatever days it is now since that last game, and perhaps that's what knocked Colorado out here. So it is a long layoff, the international break, and then a bye week. Not necessarily the best time for the MLS to give a team that much time off. So anyway, just last little thought there for anybody listening.
Yeah, and I was just going to mention that, Nick. So it's good that you jumped in on that as well too. Yeah, it's been 23 days. I think their last game was on November the 7th. So we shall see how that game goes. But if nothing else, the MLS playoffs have been entertaining with some games heading to OT, decided late in extra time or penalty kicks. Yesterday was not one of the finer displays, or the Nashville game was not one of the finer displays as far as penalty kicks go. All right, guys, we're going to head into the best bet segment. We'll give you 4 games that are going to go on in the EPL or other leagues, domestic leagues, this weekend and later on this week. Kevin Dolan's going to kick it off with an Eredivisie play. He takes us to Netherlands for this one.
Yeah, I like FC Groningen on Friday to get the win over PEC Zwolle over in the Dutch Eredivisie. As you said, Carmine, Groningen have been poor at home this season, actually, no doubt, just 1 win and 6, but their form's really starting to pick up right now. And they've got 2 straight wins in the bounce entering Friday's game, including that 4-1 demolition against Fortuna Sittard at the weekend. So I just think they're going to have too much for a team in Zwolle here on Friday night, who are 0-7 on the road this season. They've shipped 19 goals over that span as well, and have by far the league's lowest offensive shots on target rating this season. You know, Zwolle are averaging just 2.9 shots on target per game on average. So I think FC Groningen roll here again on Friday, and at minus 118, it's a best bet for me on the home team to win outright in this one. So yeah, FC Groningen, Dutch Eredivisie, best bet for Friday.
All right, Kev, I'm going to throw right back to you just quickly. What do you have up at WagerTalk?
Well, we got a 4% NBA play, as we set up for tonight. And we got a couple of client plays over in the EPL. We're going to add more for tomorrow and Thursday as well. And we're looking at a couple of college football championship games for Friday.
All right, sounds good. Nick Borrman, you are going to the Premier League on the weekend with your best bet. Let us know what you got.
Yeah, I already touched on Leicester in the preview for the Southampton game. I'm going back to another Leicester game here on the weekend at Aston Villa and taking over 2.5 goals in this one. Leicester is averaging 3.31 total goals per game this year, while Aston Villa is averaging 3 exactly on the season. Both defenses have struggled, are in the bottom half of the table in both goals conceded and expected goals allowed. Aston Villa at 1.51 and Leicester at 1.62 in expected goals allowed. Aston Villa has scored in all 6 home games this season, while Leicester has scored in all 6 road games, and they've actually conceded in all 6 road games as well. Leicester has a 9-4 over-under record on the year. Villa sits at 8-5. 2 leaky defenses that both smell blood here. Good opportunity to get 3 points with the win, and I see some aggressive play coming in this game as both teams push for that win. And let's be honest, neither defense is good enough to score a goal and play this thing out. So they're going to have to outscore each other to try to win this one. So I like over 2.5 goals in this match.
All right, Nick Borrman, WagerTalk.com. He's got a 5% play loaded, I believe. You can get that over at WagerTalk on his Cappers page. Pavlos, we're going to you next. You are taking us to Spain for a La Liga matchup. Tell us what you got and what's loaded up at SportsMemo.
Yeah, we're talking about the Celta Vigo versus Valencia match. These are 2 sides that are pretty bad defensively. Celta Vigo have the 5th worst defense with 19 conceded goals. Valencia have the 4th worst defense with 21 conceded. Celta, they have doing a pretty poor job so far in the season. They're one of the most controversial sides. They've only beat teams that are below them in the standings. Of course, they're coming off a 2-1 win against Alaves, but they're a very controversial side. You expect them to win and they lose. You expect them to lose and they win. But they're on a 4-match unbeaten streak, 3 draws and a win. While Valencia, they are on the same streak with 3 draws and a win. And they're also one of the most controversial sides out there. I don't trust any side in this matchup, actually. Celta Vigo have been terrible at home. 1 win, 5 losses and 2 draws, while Valencia on the road have also struggled a lot. 1 win, 3 losses and 3 draws. I like both teams to score here at minus 125. 8 of the last 9 matches between the 2 sides in this venue had both teams to score. 5 of Valencia's 7 away matches this season have both teams to score. They even scored at Barcelona and Sevilla, which are pretty solid defenses at home. While Celta, They only 4 of their 8 home matches had both teams to score, but they failed to score against Real Sociedad, Sevilla, and Bilbao, which are 3 of the best defenses in this league. So I expect that to change in this home match. I really like both teams to score at -125. But if you want some extra, juice, you can take the draw at +240 here.
All right, Pavlos, Laguretos of Sports Memo. Guys, I'm going to cap it off with a play. This one goes on Thursday in Premier League. It's Tottenham at home. They were snowed out on the weekend in that was my show best bet last week. That game was canceled as snowfall hit a lot of the venues in England. But I'm going to take them on Thursday. They're -3/4 of a goal at home against Brentford. Not a great Europa Conference League game for them as they were upset. The Antonio Conte, I think, era at Tottenham, I think he knows he's up against it with this team, and there's still a lot of work to do. But this is a game they should win. Some regression has started to hit this Brentford side, and even though they did get a win on the weekend against a struggling Everton side, this is a team that over the last month and a half has seen regression hit them. I think this is a spot where they lose. I'll take that split line, lay the 3/4 of a goal, and take Everton to get the job done on Thursday. Again, one more reminder along the BOGO special, guys. Head over to my page at WagerTalk.com. Pick up a 30-day all-access package, and you'll get another 30 days for free. On a fantastic roll the last month, over 75% bankroll gain and 31-13-1 this past week. So let's see if we can keep that going. Guys, next Tuesday, we are going to cover Champions League. It is the final match day of Champions League. We'll cover any of the games that are of importance for those top 2 spots, and maybe a Europa League game as well too. Don't forget, it's $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk and Sportsmemo, where you can get a featured Cappers Plays for only $2. It is Adam Trigger with a football best bet over at WagerTalk, and it's Rocky Atkinson with a college football play at Sports Memo. Included with those are a couple additional promos that you can get within the package. So take advantage of those deals for only $2. Guys, best of luck the rest of the week with your betting cards, and we will see you next Tuesday. Remember to subscribe and hit that like button.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.